to buy an Army truck. Well, that's not a good idea. So you're looking to buy an Army truck. It's a good choice. A lot of people like off-road vehicles, going out 4x4ing, having a good time, camping, going in parades, doing all sorts of really cool events. This is an M1009A3. We'll show you an M35, and we'll show you a Blazer that's called the M1009. There are many military trucks to choose from. There's 6x6s, Hemmets, 10-wheel drives, 4-wheel drives, even motorcycles. We're going to check out a couple of different military trucks in this quick tape of what to expect when you're looking to buy a military truck. This is an M1009A3 military truck, also known as a shop van. It's a utility vehicle that can be converted into a camper. You can install a radio and an antenna if you're an amateur radio operator. If you're thinking about getting a truck with a winch, that could be a good fun idea. All you have to do is buy a winch kit and flip the bumper upside down. This truck is not equipped with a winch. The bridge plate on a vehicle indicates the heaviness of the load that a vehicle can cross with a bridge that represents the same plate. If your plate's higher than the bridge, you shouldn't cross it. This is an air intake. The air intake sometimes is bent at a 45-degree angle or 90-degree bend, which allows it to receive fresh air and hopefully not water. In cold climates where it snows, you may want to have a 90-degree bend to avoid having snow build up and get pulled into the engine. When you're looking to buy an M35A2 vehicle, you may want to check the exhaust pipe to make sure that there is no rust and to make sure that the exhaust clamp that is on the fender is in good shape. That'll save you a lot of headache when dealing with this truck in the future. This military vehicle has been modified and uses a 24-volt thumper pump because the in-tank pump has failed. This truck works just fine with an exterior pump on it, pumping through the pre-existing pump that's in the tank. This is a 50-gallon tank, runs on diesel, gasoline, or various mixtures of waste motor oil, vegetable oil. Gasoline is not recommended in large quantities. This is an M35 or an M109 battery box. When you're looking to buy batteries, or when you're looking to buy a military vehicle, the military vehicle typically uses a Hawker or a regular lead-acid battery known as a 6TL series. The battery box is located on the passenger side of the vehicle, underneath the passenger door. This is a slave cable receptacle. This is for jump-starting other military vehicles or supplying power to tools. This cable offers 24 volts to another vehicle for starting on a slave cable. The slave cable may come with a 1 or 2-pin configuration. The 1-pin configuration is the current use. The 1-pin configuration or the 2-pin configuration for a slave cable. The 1-pin configuration is current use. 2-pin is obsolete. You may consider changing your slave cable to a 1-pin if it is not already changed. This is an M109 box. The M109 box has lots of uses. Mostly the military uses them as a repair shop, sometimes communications, or other uses. There's a pintle hitch on most all of the military vehicles, so you can haul a lunette style trailer. This is an M332 trailer. The trailer has a lunette which connects to the M35 or the M109. The M35 has really quite a few options for the bed design. You can get a troop carrier, a cargo bed, a dump bed, a wrecker, or a fifth wheel for towing a tractor trailer. This M35 is configured as an M109A3. The M109A3 shop van has blank plates that go over top of windows. When slid down, the plates allow the windows to fold open, ventilating the truck. Also comes with a self-contained ladder in the back. This is a typical light panel on a military vehicle. For more information about controls and gauges in a military vehicle, try an internet search for TM Manual Military Vehicle. The TM Training Manual has lots of information regarding switches, maintenance operation, lubrication order, and various things you'll need if you want to study getting ready for buying a military vehicle. The blinker switch is on the column. Just like most vehicles, the same pattern for up and down operates the lights for left and right. This truck has a radio built into the roof of it. Used for two-way communications, helps out greatly for parades. When you're going to do this, if you're an amateur radio operator, you may want to find a commercial radio with a noise-canceling microphone. as the cab in these are extremely loud. On this military vehicle, the side panels right here come down, so you can inspect the motor, see the fuel injector pump, and if you have a heater box, you can see inside there also. We'll have a close-up look of this and check the oil. As you can see on this truck, this is a diesel engine. It's fuel injected. Things to look for are to make sure that there are no drips on any of the fuel lines. These are the oil filters. The oil filters are always located in the same place on the white multi-fuel engine. These filters are sort of damp at the base. You would want to see dry filters if you are going to buy a new truck and you are expecting to see no leak on this part of the truck. Next is the air compressor. The air compressor applies air pressure to the hydraulic brake assistance system. The air compressor also is oiled by the engine lubrication system. The air compressor has a belt that is around an adjustable clutch style pulley. This pulley uses a special tool in order to access the belt for adjustment. While you are in the engine bay, check to make sure that there are no damaged wires on the wiring harness. These are things to consider when you're purchasing your military vehicle, as wiring shorts can be costly and cause you a lot of trouble, especially with law enforcement if your lights aren't working correctly. The truck should always be operated in a proud manner and be fully functional. On the multi-fuel engine, you'll see things like this. There are tubes and T's going to steel lines, plastic lines. Look at these, make sure that there are no leaks. These are your fuel injectors and the return lines along the top. The fuel injection system is very important that it does not leak or allow air into it. A diesel engine will not run correctly if it is getting air or dripping fuel. Despite what anybody says, a diesel engine's fuel system needs to be sealed. This is a petcock. On your fuel system, these are on top of your secondary and primary fuel filters just behind the oil filter on the military truck. You'll have to open this if you change your fuel filters to allow air out. This bleeds the system. Again, you'll want to make sure that there are no fuel leaks from any of the lines that are on this system. Any drips or moisture while the truck is running or after the truck has been running can cause for problems. Now we'll have a look at the engine oil. Unthreading the engine oil and pulling it out on the dipstick. We have the dipstick here. We'll wipe the dipstick down. It's always nice to see fresh oil on a diesel engine. Put the dipstick back in. If the truck has been off for quite a long time, the engine oil stick will be at the letter K on check to make sure that it is actually full. You'll notice that the engine dipstick has markings gradually along the stick. As you look at that, you'll also notice that there is text on the stick. What we talk about when we have a truck that's been sitting for quite a long time is that the word check has a K at the end of it, and where it says check engine level, the K is typically where your oil rests at. You should check your oil approximately 1 minute after shutting your truck off. Always check the oil before you start out for the day and when you come back. This will help ensure that your vehicle is not having trouble. This is an M1009 Chevrolet military police vehicle. They use these in all sorts of configurations. Typically, they are used as a simple personnel communications carrier or personnel carrier if you just need up to 4 guys in it. I've seen some configurations where they've used them as a small cargo truck, but they're basically a K5 Chevy Blazer with the Detroit diesel engine in them and 4-wheel drive drivetrain. Let's have a closer look. The M1009 and the M1008 Chevy cut-fee trucks, that's CUCV, The vehicles have a master cylinder that is powered by the power steering pump, and the system is a hydro boost system. The Detroit diesel 6.2 liter engine is a very nice engine in these vehicles. The M1009 gets around 28 miles to the gallon if you don't go much over 65 miles an hour. The fuel filter looks like a TV dinner on the side with water separator and fuel heater built into it. The battery compartment on this has two batteries that are typically 6TLs, but I have Group 31s in my truck because 6TL batteries are sometimes hard to come by. The Group 31 batteries work fine in this configuration. The charging system on the Cut-V is a 24 volts charging system using two 12-volt alternators. There's a left and a right alternator, which on the dashboard you should have a generator 1 and generator 2 light. The Cut-V truck has a fairly serious brush guard on the front of it, two clevises on the front for hooking up a strap or a chain when you want to pull something out of somewhere, and a bridge plate, your blackout light, which is standard on most every vehicle. And inside the bumpers, you'll notice on each end there is a small light in there. That is your blackout driving light. Those are operated by a switch on the panel. On this side, the passenger side, you have your standard slave receptacle, which is for jumping one truck to another truck if you need to have a jump start charge. The headlights and marker lights on this vehicle are all 12 volt. Even though the charging system is 24 volts, it is used primarily only for the starting at the slave cable and the radio accessory connector in the back of the vehicle. The General Motors Cut-Vs have standard GM 12 volt systems in the front, with the exception of the bumper having embedded blackout lights, which are operational from the dashboard. The headlight and the marker lights are all 12 volt. You also have your standard military blackout lamp, your standard bridge plate, your standard clevises, which are built into the frame to the bumper, and a very heavy-duty brush guard, which is about 1.5 inches thick. Then, coming further to the passenger side, you have up top a slave receptacle for charging and jump starting other trucks. And again, this system is standard through the 1000 series vehicles. If you have an M1009, M1008, an M1028, depending on what it is, it's going to be about the same. On the M1009 and the M1008, they similar wheel locks for four-wheel drive. The four-wheel drive system on this is a front solid axle system. It's very nice, really dependable, and excellent for winter traction or going through the mud, having fun off-road. The tires on a Cut-V are 31s. If you run much bigger than a 31, when you turn, the vehicle will rub the inner steering knuckle, and it's not a very good idea. The truck I've installed a MX6707 multi-band antenna. I have a whip holdback, this little keeper, keeps it from getting caught in trees, power lines, and other things when you're driving. Always have to keep it in the back position when on the road because you don't want to be tearing telephone connections off of houses as you go down neighborhood streets. The Cut-V has available a very nice brush guard that's good for trails, defends the antenna against branches and other things that may be in the trail hanging out, and prevents damage to the primary base mount. Even though there's a fairly decent spring on it, your wiring could be ripped off easily by tree limbs and other things if you're off-roading. The tailgate on these has a roll-down window. The roll-down window you should be very careful with because the mechanism inside of here is made out of a very soft white metal, and if the door doesn't line up exactly when you close it, it can cause it to bind, causing premature wear on the internal components. And you should always clip it back closed. If you're missing your clip, you may need to get online and order a new one, because this can also damage the internal components as it's shaking around. The standard 12-volt lighting on the vehicle allows for interchangeable components on regular Chevys with the taillights. The only difference with this is the bumper is substantially modified. The bumper has blackout lights built into it, also has holes for the clevis rods that come out the back, the shafts where you can hook up a rope. This is not a standard hitch configuration on this truck. Somebody has replaced this with a regular ball and a pintle, opposed to just having a pintle only. It does still have the military trailer wiring connector, and it has the standard military safety chain holders. A note, if you use the clevises, only use one clevis at a time. Using two clevises with the rope tied between can cause the force of the rope to pull the clevises together rather than pull your load, and that will damage the truck. This is a standard AT677VR antenna This antenna is made for the military police or NASA use. It's a very difficult antenna to get your hands on. This antenna is set for the 165 megahertz band, and I've modified the antenna internally by adding copper to make it work on the 145 megahertz amateur radio band. The antenna gets me about 35 to 40 miles worth of range on a 25 watt Motorola radio. The gas cap configuration on this vehicle has a large hole underneath it, allowing you to fill up from jerry cans. We'll have a look at that. There's your hole for filling up the jerry can. It allows a big pour spout from the diesel can. Also allows you to have the larger diesel pump, easy access in there. These older caps, you need to drill a hole in them sometimes because their venting stops working. With a very small hole in the cap, the fuel system will vent properly, causing no vacuum buildup to occur. This vehicle runs a standard diesel or diesel number 2 off-road, plus it'll run just about any oil that you pour into it. If it's in the warm months, you can run anything from cooking oil to waste motor oil if it's filtered. On my M1009, I have an oil, 2 generator lights, your speedometer, and your fuel gauge. This is a very basic instrument panel that's on most all the Chevy Cut Bs. There's also your service switch to turn off your headlights and parking lights, and a blackout drive light switch, which this turns on the small lights that are built into the front and rear bumpers, and the large blackout drive light that is in the front. If you're going to start the truck, unlike your gas engines, when you turn the key over, you'll notice that there's 2 lights up here. One light would be yellow, which it's too warm for us today, and it would say wait. Wait till the wait light goes out. That's your glow plug indicator. When your water is detected in the fuel, water and fuel light comes on. That means you need to service the fuel filter and drain the water from the fuel. Water can occur from condensation from various seasons if the truck's been sitting, or contamination to fuel when you pour it in. On the driver's side, there's a visor that you pull down, and it has starting instructions for cold procedures, it has oil for seasons, and it has the part-time 4x4 information panel for how to operate this vehicle's 4x4 system. There's also training manuals available on Steel Soldiers and many other websites on the internet. I have in my truck a VHF Motorola radio, and it's a 25 watt radio. It works pretty good. It gets me about 45-50 miles from repeater sites or simplex. The computer system comes in very handy for GPS or running amateur radio nets if you're in a storm situation and you want to keep track of net control if you're in a county that does have a Skywarn program. Hi, I'm Major Boondoggle. Join us on WKUF LP Flint 94.3 FM in Flint, Michigan on Kettering University campus. On the M35A2 trucks, they're virtually the same as the M1009A3. They come in various configuration, such as wrecker, dump truck, or drop side cargo truck. This is a troop transport. It has wooden seats that fold down from the interior. It also has a large canvas top on it. You can also get a vinyl top that goes on it, which a camouflage pattern would be. The standard olive drab tarp. With the canvas tarps, they should have a chemical smell to them. If they don't, it probably means you need to add new chemical to the tarp to prevent water from entering into the vehicle, as it is a water repellent. On this truck, we have the chain and hook system on the back that holds the tailgate in. You should always put your chains this way. So as the truck is rattling around, there's extra weight, and the way the weight is pulling keeps the chain in. If there were any heavy bumps to jostle the chain, it stays on in these eyelets right here, keeping this heavy tailgate from coming down and allowing anything that you're hauling from falling out of the truck. The M35A2, this one being redepoted in 2009, has LED taillights with blackout lights included into the LED taillight, as it's not like the Cut B that has a full bumper from Chevrolet that would have the blackout light built into the bumper. Also has your bumperette on the back of it with your shackles on the inside for chains, ropes, whatever you want to put on there. It has your full heavy-duty pintle, which is pretty greasy. Make sure you keep that grease so it opens when you need it. Pulling back on the release and lifting up allows you to put a 2.5-ton trailer on. It is a very heavy-duty hitch. You also have air brake glad hands on the back of these vehicles. Right here is your air brake glad hand. Your air brake glad hand, you can get an adapter from a tool store or online to run a regular air hose off of it so you can do tire inflation or run power tools. Some military vehicles that you may be able to pull with this include a dolly for tractor trailers, which may use air brakes to stop the trailer or to allow the trailer to actually roll, considering civilian tractor trailers use air to keep the brakes available. The M35 series trucks use air brakes over hydraulics. Your hydraulic booster on this truck is powered by an air system. You have 2 air tanks that have vents on the bottom, just like the M1009, and most of the other M-series trucks are easy accessible from the driver's compartment under the side. On the M35s, in the back of the troop carrier, you'll have this hole here, which has a power connector for your trailer's electrical connector, which is pretty nice because I believe there's 12 and 24 volts on there. I could be wrong, but it's definitely 24-volt connector, as this truck is an entirely 24-volt system. I like to take this truck all over the place, sometimes off-roading, driving through ponds, doing all sorts of crazy stuff, just to entertain myself and everybody that's with us. What's very important when you're driving on the highways to make sure that when you're inspecting your truck before purchase, or if you're driving a truck that's new to you, check to make sure that your tires don't have any cracking or dry rot on it. It's very important with your steering tires. These are 920s. This truck will comfortably fit 1120s, which can be found on 5 tons. This being a 2.5-ton truck, comes standard with 920s. The 20-inch rim is a ring lock style. This ring here requires a tire inflation cage. If you're going to be working with that, check out the Army Service Manual and or see qualified professionals to change your inner tube that is in this. This is a tube tire. This is your spare tire. Make sure that your spare tire is filled up to 50 psi and is in good condition with no dry rot. It's on a winch system that is bolted on using 2 regular studded lug nuts, just as your other tire has. So one wrench fits all of them. You want to be careful when you remove this down. It has a locking ratchet mechanism, but the tire can fall and it's fairly heavy. With the rear tandem trunnions, the dualies, you'll have your configuration of an inner and an outer. It is important that when you're driving these trucks to make sure that you're not leaking any seals in the rear, especially if you're going into water. Get water into your seals and your axles to cause problems. Inspect your vehicle before taking off. Inspect your vehicle when you come back. That's just good driving practices. If you see a leak, try to get on it before it becomes a major problem. Now we'll talk about a tip regarding tires. If you should happen to have an outer blowout while you're driving, a very simplistic situation to deal with this is merely pull over top of like a 4x4 board, and that'll jack the outer tire off the ground because the inner tire will hold you up if it's an outer that's flat. If it's an inner, you're going to have to remove both the outer and the inner to get to it. You'll need a bud lug socket, which is easily available on the internet. Having the exact same cab as the M1009, the M35 truck, the parking brake, should there ever be a problem where the parking brake will not engage because it is worn out or damaged, you will not want to leave the vehicle in gear, because if the vehicle, having a multi-fuel engine in it, is in gear, it could start up, quite literally, even in the off position and leave. It's been known to happen. All right, on the front of the truck, same as the M1009, you have your blinker configuration, and this truck being redepoted later on in life has LED headlights on it. Also has a nice brush guard for the LED headlights. And the low setting on the LED headlights is way brighter than the average headlight. And the high setting on the LED headlights is absolutely blinding. So you want to run in the lower setting. Has your standard bridge plate for indicating your weight versus the bridge's weight ratio for cargo. We have clevises in the front on this truck, has a step on it, and the step is very handy for accessing the engine compartment because the engine, the hood axis is right here, and it's actually pretty much not going to be open from the ground. On the M35A2 and the M1009 trucks, your fuel is on a shutoff switch that can be pushed in. This is a ratchet mechanism that allows the fuel to stay in the off position to keep the engine from starting should the truck be left in gear and rocked. Turning the engine with the clutch out can cause it to start, even if you're not having your electricity on. The switch for electricity, so you can start the starter, is this rocker right here. It creates a loud buzz when the air system needs to be refilled for the air brake hydraulic system to work. Once you have your electricity on, you can press your clutch pedal firmly all the way to the floor, making sure that the truck is in neutral. Press your red start button firmly, and the truck should start. You may have to give a little bit of fuel to some trucks if it's cold outside. Now we're going to do a practical start. I'm going to push in the clutch, my fuel lever is in, my battery switch is coming on. On the M35 and the M1009, you'll have your clutch, your brake, and your fuel pedal. You'll have this shaft coming out of the floor right here. This all the way down is low range. Pulling it to the middle is neutral. Pulling it all the way up is high range. This is your shifter for your manual transmission. Pulling it all the way over to the driver's side and back down is first gear. In order to go in reverse, you simply go straight forward towards the dash. For second gear, you come back to the middle and you go up. That is second gear, in the middle of the shift pattern. In the middle of the shift pattern, pulling straight back is reverse, followed by going back to the neutral and down is fourth gear, all the way to the passenger side corner. All the way to the passenger side corner, all the way to the dashboard is fifth gear. This truck has a air sprag front axle. Flipping the switch to the on position locks the front axle into 6x6 drive. Flipping the switch back to off allows you to have rear-wheel drive again, and you should drive on dry pavement in rear-wheel drive using only the front axle for snow, sand, or other conditions where traction is very little. If you are driving with it in the on position, it'll cause your steering wheel to jerk. Your truck will ride rough. Try flipping that off and see if that helps.